How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Elves, aka Nisser in its native language. This was released by Netflix on November 28th, 2020, and is directed by Roni Ezra and stars Sonja Steen. And a few things to get out of the way before we get into this. One, I'm not entirely sure if this is a mini-series or a season 1. It wraps it up enough but does leave the world open for more adventures, which is kind of what you gotta do in the days of streaming when shows can be canceled left or right with very little warning. So yeah, definitely good to wrap it up, but leave it open, and that's a good place for it. So if this was a mini-series, I'd be fine with that, but if there is a season 2, I'd be interested in more adventures. 2, this is also a Christmas show. Now, it's not the biggest over-the-top in-your-face Christmas show. The village in this show is very traditional and they don't decorate as much. And, you do get to see the family cut down a Christmas tree and it's all decorated and stuff. But it's not the biggest in-your-face Christmas show, but it is a Christmas show. And also, this is only 6 episodes, and each episode's only like 20 to 25 minutes, so it's just a little over 2 hours long, so, it's a really quick in and out show. It's not a super huge time investment, and you can go in and watch it really quick and pop out, so, it's just a little longer than an average movie. Also, this is a foreign show. I believe it's Danish, and in turn, you're going to have to do either subtitles or dubbing, and the dub here is another one of your okay Netflix dubs. Netflix does a bunch of okay dubs, where they're not terrible, but there's definitely room for improvement, and Netflix does have a definite interest in foreign shows, which is overall probably a good thing, but if you're going to do that, I would say invest in a better dubbing. There's lots of really good voice actors nowadays, think animation and video games, really talented people, and I'd recommend bringing them over to get better dubs out of these shows, but it's okay, it just really could be better. But anyway, all that being said, it's a really fun show. It's a family going on vacation to this remote island, and it's really off the grid. The people there are, kind of weary of strangers, and there's a big fence with all these elves behind it. And if you go beyond the fence, it's a haunted forest where some elves might be lurking in the background, and there's an abandoned sawmill right there too, a good creepy abandoned building, a really fun place. But of course the daughter is going to find an elf, and it's going to be a little baby elf, so, really cute Gizmo / Baby Yoda inspired creature, and that's really fun. But I guess I should mention this going in, is, you see this concept, you see the cute little baby creature. I expected this to be a lot more like Gremlins than it turned out to be. Now, a lot of Netflix shows are overtly dark and serious, and a lot of them are pretty slow and boring, and this isn't that, but at the same time, this really could have been a funner, more over-the-top, wacky show. There's only like one memorable death here for the elves. You don't get to shove the elves in microwaves like Gremlins or anything like that, and I really did wish that it was a more over-the-top, wacky show. A lot of the drama comes from how to handle the situation. You get the leader of the people on this village. I think her name's actually Karen, but I don't think that was meant to be a joke. I think it's just the character's name. But she believes in dealing with these problems in a very strict, unmoving way because you have to keep the village safe. But when this family comes in, they don't know the rules, they're going to need special accommodations. She's not going to give that to them, and of course they're going to clash. And that's sort of one of the things with the show is, I do like, debating how to best handle a situation, but there's quite a few times where I'm like, okay, I get you don't want to be lenient, but you gotta realize that if you're this uncompromising, you're not going to get what you want, you know? There's one scene in the show where these parents think their daughter is behind this fence, and they get one of the townspeople, and he's just like, no, I won't let you go beyond that fence. And the parents, quite understandably, are like, my daughter is probably back there. There's no way you can stop me. And the guy's just like, no, I won't let you go back there. And that's sort of one of the things, you know, you see the villagers being really, really strict, but, you know, unless you give these people something, you know, there's no way a dad's just gonna leave his daughter on the other side of that fence. If you want this situation to be wrapped up in the most favorable outcome, you do have to learn to, you know, give and take a little bit. And, you know, the fact that these people are so unmoving really does lead to a lot of their own downfalls. And you do wish, you see, a lot of the problems could have been solved if they would sit down and talk a little more openly and, you know, do a little give and take, but they don't. So there is a little bit of frustrating moments there. But, you know, even though you get that, and there is other stuff I'll bring up in a minute, the show is still only a little over 2 hours long. So even though this does have flaws and it doesn't go as far as I wish it would as far as the gore and the elf fighting, you know, even though it doesn't do that, it's only 2 hours, so it really just doesn't have time for the show's flaws to get grating. And you're in, out, it's a fun little adventure. Not the best thing ever, but like I said, if there was a season 2, I'd definitely watch it. Let's go ahead and talk a bit about the plot. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on a few of the plot points and make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what the show's about. We open up with this family, mom, a dad, an older brother, and a younger daughter, and they're going to this remote island, way up in Northern Europe, I believe, and they go and they decide to take a shortcut through this woods on a private road. And when they go on the private road, they think they hit something. They feel something under their car, and they get out and check, but they look around and they don't see anything. So they're like, I could have sworn we hit something, but there's nothing there. It must have just been a pothole. And they look and they see a big mysterious fence nearby blocking off a large portion of the island, and they begin to wonder about that. But before they're outside for too long, you get a group of 2 guys showing up saying, hey, this is a private road, we need you to get off of here. And they of course comply and they leave. They get to the vacation home, a pretty big, nice home, but of course you're going to have spotty cell coverage and there's no Wi-Fi at this cabin, so the kids are going to have to spend a little more time with the family than they normally would. They get out, they check out the small local village, really not too many people there, like 30 people maybe, and they're all a little standoffish, and you can tell that there's something up here. The older brother does meet one of the village's younger daughters there, and the 2 kind of fall in love a little bit, but you can tell that she knows a lot more than she's letting on, and how much information will she give out. Also, the girl can't leave that idea that they may have hit something alone. There's probably a small wounded creature out there, and she can't get this out of her head, so she goes back to that stretch of road, searches around a little more, and finds this little baby elf. She doesn't know what it is right away. It's later talked about how these are woodland elves, and it's this cool little creature with a pointy head and little ears and stuff and big eyes, and she takes it back and she takes care of it, and she wants to keep it. Actually, the introduction for this character, the family's stopping at a gas station and she sees this dog that's tied up outside, and she starts to pet the dog and she really likes it, and the mom's like, get away from there, you don't know this dog, go home. And she's like, but I really like these, I really like dogs, I really want a pet. You know, and it makes her sympathetic, you know, she cares for these animals, she likes them, she wants an animal of her own. You see where she's coming from. However, this may have needed a little more build-up. Later on, the brother obviously is one of the first to find out about the elf in the barn. They find a dead cat that's been eaten, and the brother goes, "That elf ate that cat," and the daughter goes, "No, no, the elf would never do something like that." And you as an audience are like, "No, that elf definitely did that." And, you know, I really wish they had more of a relationship build-up between the daughter and this elf. You know, just them hanging out and bonding, you know. I think this really needed more of that. So by the time the elf is eating cats, you can understand why she doesn't want to let it go. But yeah, you do get to the point where you see she's really clingy and she's going way too far to hang on to this thing. And, you know, you get to the point where later on in the show, Karen points at her and says, "This is all your fault." And you're supposed to go, "Oh no, it's a cute elf, she should have kept it." But really, when Karen says, "This is all your fault," you kind of go, yeah, it is all her fault. So I really wish the relationship was built up more. Plus, you could have got a lot more scenes where, you know, a kid's hanging out with this cute little baby elf, you know. Could have been really cool, you know, could have been nostalgic for like E.T. and Gremlins and stuff, but we didn't get enough of those scenes, so I think that was definitely a problem there. And there's a few other things, you know, like I said, this isn't super Christmassy. The people really should debate more, but also with Gremlins, I really wish this was more over the top and action based. It really, really could have been better if they had focused on those elves going nuts. And the elves do wreak some havoc, but like later on they find some dead bodies, and they know that this is because the elves want their babies back. They're going after these people, but they just find the dead bodies. You don't see how the elves killed them, you know, or at least, you know, not in any super memorable way. Maybe I forgot or something. But I really wish there was more elf action. You know, I really wish that was more in the forefront there. And there also is one more problem where who is renting out this cabin? You know, it's this cabin in the middle of an elf island. Who's renting that out? I guess it must have been either someone got their cabin foreclosed on, or maybe whoever owned the cabin died and the relative who inherited it didn't know. But, I mean, the villagers, it's not a big village, and they seem to be on top of things. If that cabin went up for rent and they couldn't prevent it, you think they would have at least had a plan for visitors coming to the island, but their plans seem to be stand back and shun them and don't let them do anything. But you really need, if you know someone's coming, you need a plan for what the people coming to the island might do, but whatever. But anyway, I've covered a bit of the flaws with this show. It still is a fun show. The concept, you know, going to an elf island, the creepy elf creatures. It's a really good creature design. I really wish we got to see more of them. And, you know, the idea that you'd find the baby one, again, really reminiscent of Gremlins and stuff. It's just a show that had a lot going for the initial concept. I just wish it was pushed farther, and maybe that was budget. Maybe they couldn't afford to show the elves too often. Maybe if we get a season 2, they'll give it a better budget and we can do more over-the-top elf wackiness. But it's just a little more subtle than I would have preferred. But it still is a fun concept, and, you know, with only a runtime of a little more than 2 hours, it never really drags, you know. So, you know, maybe I harped on it a little more than I should have. I don't want to sound like I don't like this show. It's just, I know it could have been way better. But for what it is, it's a fun show, and I did like it enough. I just wish it really swung for the fences, you know. I guess it's because there's so much there to like initially, you get a little more frustrated when it doesn't really go for it at the end, when it focuses more on a human villain. I just wish this was much more Gremlins, but, you know, it is what it is, and I liked it enough for what it is. And it's short, so it's not a big time investment. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. If you guys want to see more, you can click there and see more. It should be my Christmas playlist, so if you want to see me talk about other Christmassy things, those will be in there as well. A lot of Christmas horror as well. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.